right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations, Emma. Where are you, Emma? Emma is just a beautiful young girl. She's very quiet, but I tell you, if you go to that nursery and you drop kids off at your nursery, you know Emma, because that's kind of been her place of service, and we're so excited for her future in the medical or law field. Wow. So, Karen, I hope you've saved your money for her. We appreciate Karen and their work with our snack packs or snack backpacks that we send to the school out here. Karen's been active in that, and she and Emma. And Ethan, great to see you here today. Great to have you here, my friend, and we're glad you're back. We've really been praying for you and pulling for you, Denise, and your family. Well, thanks for being here, all of you. If you're a guest, I want to say thanks for being here. If you haven't been here in a while, then thanks for being here. Also, we've been in a series, this is 3 of 4, called Relationship. Relationship is hard work. We know it's hard work because all of us are in some kind of a relationship, and the better the relationship, the closer the relationship, the harder work it is, because there are things you have to do. We talked about filling in this gap of what you expect from people and how they behave is never going to be the same. You may have blinders on at first when you first meet this person and think that they're always going to do what they say, but that's not the way it happens. There's a big gap, and we decide to put believing the best in that gap so that we can keep this relationship going. Relationship is hard work. It's hard for parents to have a great relationship with kids. It's not always easy, is it? I mean, we have to keep the kids, so we need a good relationship with them. It takes hard work, parents. Our job is to teach them to respect us and honor us. And in doing that, we teach them so many other things about life and about the world, and about respecting adults, and about respecting our country, and respecting people in authority. It's not easy for kids. I know there aren't a lot of little kids here, but to some degree we're all kids. If we have parents still living, then we as kids have to work hard to respect our parents. That gets kind of difficult when our parents are not godly people, or if our parents going in a different direction than we're going, then we have a hard time respecting them, but still respect is called for. Obedience is not always called for when you're a grown-up person, but respect and honor is called for. Last week we talked about marriage and how hard it is to keep a great marriage, especially in a day and age when the whole world is fighting against us. The institution of marriage is being attacked hard from every side. Not only in how we live, but in how it's being addressed and defined in our culture today. The definition of marriage is as old as the Bible, but today people are trying to redefine it, aren't they? There is an attack not only against marriage, but against the whole family. Everything out there in culture wants you, every bad thing out there wants you to fail at your relationship. They want to promote things that will help destroy your relationship, and then when you fail at your relationship, they want to kick you when you're down. For instance, we wonder why there are affairs, and we wonder why marriages are failing. We wonder why there's trouble in families with children, but yet we fill our minds and our hearts with TV shows that promote this kind of attack and assault against godly relationships and the family, don't we? We fill our homes with it, and then we wonder why. We wonder why a kid would take a gun and shoot 8 of his fellow classmates and 2 teachers, and do that about every month or so. That's happening. Well, the influence of TV and social media, these don't have to be bad kids. They just have to be caught up in a bad world. And relationship means so much. Relationship is the key to addiction recovery. Relationship is the key to getting kids to stop killing one another. We could talk about relationship from now to the end of the year and talk about how powerful this thing is, at not only preventing, but intervening and helping people recover from the problems that they're in. Now today specifically, we're going to talk about friendships. We're going to talk about friendships. We all know great friendships are worth it. How many of you have a friend, maybe from elementary school, that you're still close with? Anybody have an elementary school friend? Yeah. And when I see folks like Joe Harris raise his hand, Joe's pushing 80 years old, and he's got friends from elementary school. It takes a little bit of work and a little bit of influence to keep those friendships up. Joe's getting ready to start chemotherapy on his, he's got stomach cancer, and he's got chemotherapy, and the doctor said, we need to remove your stomach. And Joe said, I came in the world with my stomach, I'm going to leave the world with my stomach. And he's looking forward to planning next year's 65th class reunion. So, because he's important to that set of friends. We are blessed with so many good friendships. A good friendship, you shouldn't trade anything for a great friendship. Somebody, I'm not talking about these surface acquaintances or relationships where you just say, hey, how you doing? And you just keep walking by. I'm talking about people who will be there for you. I'm talking about the definition of friendship that says they're running in when the world is running out. I'm talking about people that you can be yourself with. People that you can talk to, and they're not going to judge you, and they're not going to talk about you behind your back. They're not going to spread gossip about you. They're going to be there for you. That's the kind of friendship we're talking about today. And there's so many songs that come to mind. Songs like "You Raise Me Up." You raise me up. You know that song, don't you? Jameson wants to sing that song for his 8th grade talent show at Winfield. So hey, good luck to you. He can do it. The wind beneath my wings. Remember that song? You're the wind beneath my wings? I think of the movie Beaches there. Lean on me. Lean on me. That's what friends are for. We could just go down the list of the songs and the things that have been written inspired by friendships that go deep, that really lean into one another. And if you have a great friend this morning, you should thank God for him or her. Proverbs 18:24 says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Now, I don't know if you've ever had somebody, you look back in your life and you say, I wish I had never met that person. Or maybe you say, I wish my wife had never met that person. Or I wish my husband had never met that person. Or I wish my teenage son or my teenage daughter had never met that person. Just by a show of hands, has anybody ever met someone, or you have someone in your life you wish they had never met someone? Sure, we all have. We all can look back on our life and say, man, I would have never done that stupid thing that I did if it hadn't been for my stupid friends who dared me to do it. And how many stupid things influenced by friends who don't care about your health have started with, I dare you, and then ended with, hey, watch this. Yeah, we could probably erase a lot of our past if we could go back and undo some of the friendships we made. Today's message title is Choosing Friends Who Won't Drive Drunk. So it's not just enough for you to choose not to get into a vehicle where somebody would drive drunk, but it's better that you choose a friend who would never do that. And that'll protect you. Friendships are so powerful. They can help us get better or cause us to get worse. And let me tell you something. Friendships are not static. They are either deteriorating or they're getting better. Friendships are either getting worse or getting better. And you know, I tell my children this when they're in high school, that you may not have even met your best friend yet. I don't know how many of you met your best friend after high school. Many people did. They meet their best friends after high school or even after college. Friendships are so powerful. Our friends will determine the direction and the quality of our lives. Did you know that? The closer the friendship, the more the influence. That's why Solomon said in Proverbs 13:20, 3,000 years ago, he said, walk with the wise and become what? Wise. For a companion of fools suffers harm. That's old wisdom. Paul reminded the Corinthians of this truth when he said in 1 Corinthians 15, he said, bad company corrupts good morals. Well, that's what we tell our kids. Watch who you hang out with. And parents, we need to be watching who they hang out with. Now, some of you remember several years ago, I preached a sermon series called Guardrails. How many of you remember the sermon series Guardrails? It's a great series. I got probably as many or more comments on that series and still get them than any other series I've ever done. Well, it was a North Point church series, and we had a message on friendship using that verse. Well received. We should repeat that series sometime, but we're going to use this concept to talk about friendship today. So let me remind you of the concept of a guardrail, okay? Everybody knows what a guardrail is, right? How many of you have ever been up close and personal to a guardrail? Yeah, and maybe you didn't want to be. A guardrail is put in a safe place to prevent you from going over the edge, right? It's put in this place so that you won't go over into the dangerous place. Now, hitting a guardrail, when you hit a guardrail, it may hurt a little bit, but it wouldn't hurt near as much as if you'd gone over into the very dangerous place. Everybody understands the concept of guardrails. They're put in places where they need to be to keep us from going over the edge. And though we hit the guardrail, it hurts, but it protects us. It keeps us from going even further over the edge. So hitting the guardrail is not wrong. Now I know when you think, well, it damaged my car. But really, when you think of the guardrail in a spiritual or a moral or a financial or a relational way, hitting the guardrail is not wrong. It keeps you from going to where it's wrong. It keeps you from going over the hill to where it's wrong. So what you need to do when you bump into a guardrail, you need to back up a little and say, oh, I need to back up a little. I don't need to be so close to the edge. And we need these in every area of our life. We need these in our finances, of course. If we start seeing certain red flags in our finances, that's hitting a guardrail. We need to back up a little bit. Stop spending so much. Stop charging so much, or whatever it is in your financial affairs. If you're in school, if you're a student, and academically, you need guardrails. If you realize, hey, I'm starting to make C's, maybe I need to study more. I'm bumping up against the guardrail where I could fall over the edge. I need to do something to back up. We need it in our jobs. We need it in our profession. We need it in our marriage, don't we? We need it in our marriage. Guardrail. A guardrail is it's putting something in a place that's safe. It's not wrong. But if you were to go past it, it would be wrong. For instance, our policy here at Gateway, and perhaps a lot of people, even whether church or not, is that we're not, I'm not going to say we're not allowed to, but we try our best not to ride in a vehicle with someone of the opposite sex, just the two of them, or have lunch with someone of the opposite sex. So if there's a woman in the church that says, hey, Pastor, I want to talk to you. Can I come? Can you meet me for lunch? Well, I can come, but I might bring somebody else with me. I might bring somebody else, because that's a guardrail. It's not wrong for me to have lunch with somebody of the opposite sex. That's not wrong. But it's a guardrail. It could lead to something wrong. It could lead to something worse. You understand? So you want to put the guardrail up in the safe place where when you bump up against that, oh, I haven't done anything wrong, but I am pushing the limit. I am flirting with the edge here. And when I go over the edge, then I have done something wrong. So a guardrail is a standard of behavior that becomes a matter of conscience. So I know when I act like this, it pricks my conscience, and I say, I better stop. For instance, I know maybe I don't drink alcohol. Maybe you drink alcohol. Maybe you're a social drinker. Maybe you're somebody who drinks with dinner or something. So I would advise, though alcohol, there's nothing in the Bible that says you cannot drink alcohol. There's a whole lot in the Bible that says when you cross that line and get drunk, you've gone over the edge, and now you've got problems. So if you're a social drinker, hey, that's okay with me. I mean, I would recommend you not be, because I think you can live your whole life and not be, and it'd be better for your kids, and it'd be better for you. It'd be better for them not to see that in your fridge, and them assume that this is okay when you know it's not okay in excess. So a guardrail, for instance, for a social drinker would be, I can have, I don't even know, I'm oblivious to this. I could have 2 drinks, but if I take 3, I'm hitting that guardrail. You understand what I'm saying? It's not wrong to have 3 drinks, unless it gets you drunk. I don't know if it would. I guess it depends on what drink it was. But the guardrail is, I'm at 3, I'm hitting the bumper. I'm hitting the guardrail. So maybe you want to back up, and next time I'm going to have 1 or I'm going to have 2. Personally, I don't have any, okay? But I'm just trying to give you an example, an illustration of how to use a guardrail in your life. And they're so important. And so many people live without guardrails in their life, and so many people go over the edge in their life in so many areas, and it's not just their own lives that are damaged. It's not just their own lives that are hurt. They hurt the lives of their family, and they hurt the lives of a lot of other people with them. They have unreliable friends, and they soon come to ruin. They walk with fools, and they suffer harm. Solomon also said, the righteous choose their friends, how? Carefully. The righteous choose their friends carefully. Boy, I tell you, I've raised, let me just say, I'm raising 4 daughters, and now a son. And one of the greatest things I think I have to do as a father is to coach my children in who they will choose to spend their life with. Who will they choose to spend their life with? Because inevitably this person is going to influence them in tremendous ways, and you want someone who's godly. So on the front end of that, I might be a little hard on my children. I'm like, okay, you have an interest in someone. Before we go too far, does this person go to church? That's a good starting point. What about this person's family? And you might think, well, you can't choose your children's boyfriends or girlfriend like that. Oh, yes, I can. If they live in my house, now, if they sneak behind my back and do these things, then we got other issues. We got other problems. But if they live in my house and I'm paying the bills and feeding them and clothing them and paying their phone bill and all that stuff, I absolutely can put guardrails around their friendships. And listen to me, parents, if you're not doing that, you're headed for the cliff. You're headed for disaster, and you will wish you had of later. So you got to coach them at the front end so that when they get to that point and they're off in college or they're off on their own, they automatically think, oh, no, that's a guardrail. I need to back up from that. Now, there's a guy named Morin Cerf who's a neuroscientist at Northwestern University. He did some studies, and if you want the website for this, I can give it to you. I can send it to you in a text or something, about the impact of relationships, the impact of decision-making based on the relationships that people have. And what he discovered is that when it comes to influencing people, it's not just behavioral. It's not just that people do what people see. You ever heard that concept? People do what people see. You wonder why these school shootings are happening? People do what people see. Now, not everybody's going to do it, but somebody, inspired by what happened this week in Texas, inspired by what happened the last time, somebody is planning to do what this kid did. Normally, a young, white male is planning to outdo The last kid, because people do what people see. And it's not just what people see. This neuroscientist, Morrow Surf, he discovered, or he believes, that it's just not the behavior, it's brain waves. It's brain waves. So people who hang out together start thinking alike. They all start thinking alike. He said the more we study engagement, we see time and again that just being next to certain people actually aligns your brain with them. Fascinating, isn't it? I just want you to look to your left and right and make sure these are the people you want to be sitting with this morning. Is this who you want to be with? Okay, I hope so. If you need to move to another row, move to another row. But you know, seriously, that's what he's saying. And we can see this. You know, you wonder why, who was that? Charles Manson. Some of you all remember, you grew up in the day of Charles Manson, the mass murderer. How could he take a group of young people, hippies, I guess, and convince them to do all this horrendous stuff they did? Well, the more you hang out with someone, the more you start to think like someone. And the more you will do what someone does. And whoever's the stronger personality or the stronger influence will be the one who's influencing you, not only to do things, but to think a certain way. We've seen this happen so many times in our society. I think Surf is right. And this is a fascinating article. And the point of the study is to encourage people to be very careful about who they choose to hang out with. Because if you hang out right with the right people, you can win just by being in the right group. Surf now, he does a lot of extra study where he says, you know, I want to minimize the decisions I make every day, the energy I expend to make decisions. So if I hang out with the right people, I just do what they do. And I know they're going to be making the right decisions. And I don't even have to make the decision because I'm with the people who are going to make good decisions. This works if you want to lose weight. This works if you want to curb your TV, you know, what you watch on TV. If you want to play a musical instrument. If you want to become more sociable. You know, whatever it is, if you'll hang out with those people who think a certain way that you want to think in, then you'll get better. It's crazy, isn't it? Fascinating. He closes his study by saying, in all cases, the most important decision in your life is who you surround yourself with. Young people, teenagers, especially if you're in here, listen to this advice. If you want to be smart, hang out with smart people. Don't hang out with the dumb people just so you can feel smart. If you want to be successful in life, if you want to go up the ladder, hang out with people who are going up the ladder. Don't hang out with people who are groveling in the dirt down below. Choose your friends carefully. In his second letter to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul warned them. He warned these believers there about surrounding themselves with unbelievers. And here's where we get this unequally yoked idea. He said in 2 Corinthians 6, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with color of skin or ethnicity or even, a lot of other things that we would say, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't marry someone there or someone. This doesn't have anything to do with that. A lot of old-timers used to say, oh, you shouldn't intermarry. This is not what this is saying. This has everything to do with your values, your spiritual values. Because he says, for what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? Maybe you watched the royal wedding yesterday. Anybody? Yeah. And there's an American in royalty now. And that's, it's like, well, that would have never happened years ago because that would have been an unequally yoked union. This doesn't have anything to do with where you're from or skin color or anything. It has everything to do with your spiritual values. If you align yourself with unbelievers, now don't hear what I'm not saying, you need to have friendships with people who are lost in order to save them, but don't let them in your inner circle. You shouldn't let them influence your life decisions. It's really all about the friends you choose. So I'm going to end in the next 6 or 8 minutes by giving you 5 suggested guardrails for choosing your friends. First of all, here's a guardrail to choose friends who won't drive drunk. When it dawns on you that your close friends aren't moving in the right direction for you, that should be a guardrail. Now, to do this, you need to know which direction you're moving in. If you know, hey, I'm going to be on the A honor roll. I'm going to be successful in my business. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to be involved in a campus ministry. I'm going to have positive Christian friends around me. You need to choose friends going in that direction. And when it dawns on you that your close friends are not going in that direction, that ought to be a red flag. That ought to be a guardrail. You ought to bump up against that and say, whoa, I have the wrong friends. Don't wait too late. You know, one of the saddest stories we've ever told at this church is a young man who used to go to our Taze Valley campus who overdosed on drugs, and his friends dropped him in a ditch down the street from his parents' house. Well, those were great friends, weren't they? Great friends. And Steve Harley ended up preaching that funeral. So when it dawns on you your close friends aren't moving in the right direction for you, you need to decide, hey, can I stay as friends with them, or do I need to change friends? Let me tell you, if you're hanging out with people who don't care about their safety, who don't care about their own behavior, who don't care about their whatever it is, then they're definitely not going to care about yours. They don't care about. If you have friends who don't care about their marriage, they're not going to care about your marriage. They're not going to try to help you protect it. Secondly, when you feel the pressure to the pressure to be somebody other than who you really are, when you feel the pressure to be somebody other than who you really are, if you have to act a different way when you're around these people, then that should be a red flag. That should be a guardrail. This is called peer pressure, and you're just looking for acceptance. They asked the lady who was 102 years old, they said, what's the best thing about being 102? And she said, there's no peer pressure. I don't have to worry about what other 102-year-old people are doing. Listen, peer pressure is everything. And man, if you've raised middle school kids, if you've ever raised kids, and it's probably starts in elementary school, going all the way up to high school. If you've raised kids or if you have grandkids, trust me, the one thing they want in their life is to be loved and accepted by their friends. And the most hurtful thing for them is for one of their friends to say something bad about them, or especially girls, I think. They need this, they want this approval. If they don't have a godly father in their life, if they don't have someone who's been their dad, who's been a godly father, then they want approval. They want it so bad they'll go anywhere to get it. So when you feel the pressure to be somebody other than who you really are, it's a guardrail. Number 3, when you feel the pressure to compromise your core values. In other words, when something that's never been a temptation for you becomes a temptation, it becomes a live option for you, something that's never tempted you before, and now here you are in this situation, and you're being tempted by something you never dreamed you would be, then that's a red flag. That's a guardrail. That's going over the edge. Number 4, when you hear yourself saying, oh, I'm going to go, but I'm not going to participate. That should be a guardrail. That should be a red flag. You know, just think of you as a parent or a dad, and your 16-year-old daughter comes and says, hey, Dad, I'm going to go to this party. There's going to be 2 of us girls there and about 15 boys. They might be doing crazy things, but I'm not going to really participate. What are you as a dad going to say? Oh, okay, honey, I trust you. No, you're going to say, listen, you got 2 options. You can go, but there'll be 16 boys. I'll be the 16th boy. Or you can't go. You with me? So when you hear yourself saying, I'll go, but I won't participate, that's a guardrail. And lastly, when you hope the people you care about don't know your whereabouts, that should be a guardrail. When you hope the people that you really care about would think, oh my goodness, what are they doing there? Why are they with them? Then that should be a guardrail for you to say, I need to back up. I need different friends. You haven't done anything wrong by being there, but you could. And you're likely to if you've hung out with them a long time because you're starting to think like them. An old farmer looked out in his back field and saw a bunch of crows. So he got his shotgun out, and he went out there, boom, boom. All these crows fell, and he went out there, and oh my goodness, he thought, there's our little parrot. How did the parrot get out here? It was fledging and struggling with a broken wing. He took it inside, and the kid said, Daddy, what happened? Dad said, he was hanging out with bad company. And you know what? That's what's going to happen to us if we choose to hang out with the wrong people. I know there aren't a lot of graduates here, but man, this is a good message for graduates. And it's a good message for all of us. What matters is that we got the right people around us. Again, Proverbs 18, the very first proverb that I read, says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. You know who that friend is? That's Jesus. He went all the way to the cross so that when others were running out on you, he could stand in. We're going to close today by singing one of my old favorite hymns. But if you're here today and you're not a Christian and you're not choosing the right friend, or maybe you've got the wrong friends and you're wondering how can I influence them, and you need some guidance in what to do about these relationships, then I want to pray for you. If you don't know Jesus as your Savior, I want to invite you to come and get to know Him and to make an initial step, to make a decision that, hey, I want to know Jesus. I want to be obedient to Him in baptism. I want to put roots down with people who will help me and not hurt me. So stand up with me and let's pray. Almighty God, thank you today for good friends. Thank you for a friend who sticks closer than a brother, who will never let us down, that we can go to with anything. He will always be there. I pray, God, that every person in this place would know Him. They would know Jesus. They would know your Son. He is our Savior. They would make Him their Lord today. Lord, that's my prayer. In His name we ask it. Amen.